Good day. In this lecture, we will be discussing the electrolytic. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to compare electrolytic cells and galvanic cells. An electrolytic cell is a system. In an electrolytic cell, the anode is positively charged because the electron. Even though the system is not spontaneous, the same redox rules apply. Oxidation occurs at the anode, reduction occurs at the cathode. The difference is that these reactions are forced by an external power supply. Also, the anode attracts negative ions, meanwhile the cathode attracts positive ions. Let's consider molten sodium chloride. It dissociates into sodium ions and chloride ions. At the cathode, sodium ions gain electrons and are reduced to sodium metal, and at the anode, chloride ions lose electrons and are oxidized into chlorine gas. Now consider aqueous sodium chloride. In this case, water is also present, which introduces competing reactions. So we must be careful in determining which species will be oxidized and which species will be reduced. To decide which reaction occurs, we rely on experimental validations, if available, or comparison of standard reduction potentials. The reaction with a higher potential is more likely to occur. At the cathode, reduction occurs. Although sodium ions are present, water is usually reduced instead. Depending on conditions, so identifying the correct reduction reaction requires comparison of potentials. Experimental observation shows the formation of yellow-green gas, which indicates chlorine gas is being produced. This helps confirm which oxidation reaction is occurring. At the anode, chloride ions lose electrons and are oxidized into chlorine gas, and this aligns with the observed gas formation. The overall process has a negative standard potential, meaning it is non-spontaneous. Therefore, it requires external power source to proceed. Now let's compare galvanic and electrolytic cells. In a galvanic cell, chemical energy is converted into electrical energy and the reaction is spontaneous. In an electrolytic cell, electrical energy is converted into chemical energy and the reaction is non-spontaneous. The polarity is also reversed. Anode is negative in galvanic but positive in electrolytic. Cathode is positive in galvanic but negative in electrolytic. However, some principle remains the same. Oxidation still occurs at the anode, reduction still occurs at the cathode, and the electron flow is still from anode to cathode. That concludes the lecture on electrolytic cells. The key takeaway is that while the reduction process remains the same, electrolytic cells require external energy to produce non-spontaneous reactions.